the record button.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Wow, Daniel.
Such a genius.
Can you guys see the red dot?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, we'll start. Boop. Okay. All right. First alumni, Daniel. He graduated and then he went to Michigan, University of Michigan, and he's doing research in the area of localized controlled release drug delivery for fat lysis under the guidance of Professor Enola.
Eniola, yeah.
Sorry, I can't say it. Do you want to talk
It's
about
hard to say. Yeah, I kind of just started doing lab work because like the first semester is kind of like an advisor matching process. So I'm like kind of just getting into that. But yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's research. So far, it's fun. Hopefully soon in the near future, it'll still be fun. But yeah.
Cool. All right. Okay. So, second alumni, Prashu. He was also, oh, sorry. Okay, so Daniel used to be the co-president of Chemicar from 2018 to 2019, and he was also the co-president with Daniel. So he graduated, and now he's a chemical engineer in a textile dye manufacturing industry in India, and he's leading the projects and engineering on the projects and engineering team, and is responsible for budgeting expansions and taking technical decisions of equipment to be used. Do you want to talk about it?
And the photo pretty much depicts, how the life is, sort of, because I'm on field a lot, and I do the testing of equipments, calibrations, what kind of equipments to use, the materials of construction and stuff, and it's pretty fun considering what I've learned. And I feel now that I'm in the industry, I feel there could be a lot of things which could change in our curriculum, as in when we're doing reaction engineering and stuff like that, we can learn a little more on what actually happens in an industry. It'd be much more fun then, but it's amazing and I love my job as of now. So
Yeah, sounds
that's
cool.
it. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So, thank you. Third alumni, Susie. She was the safety chair, also in the same year, 2018 to 2019. And she is currently working in the engineering team at Rivian. And she makes sure that the battery system and the cars that they make are efficient and safe.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm part of the battery cell engineering at Rivian. So like, unlike Daniel or Prashu, I'm actually a little bit like, I'm still a chemical engineer, but it's a little bit outside. I actually make use of a lot of my MAE 170 knowledge, unfortunately. But yeah, this is just like, I guess my career path is kind of proof of how like flexible the field of chemical engineering is, because even though the knowledge that I make use of isn't like my traditional like process engineering knowledge that I learned in class, it's still like pretty fun and something that I haven't had a lot of experience with in university, but I did have enough for me to, take it on in the workforce. Yeah.
Cool, thanks. Okay, so now we'll do questions and advice.
Yeah.
Do you guys have questions?
Just like in general, how's it going? How do you feel your change was from like, graduating last year with our curriculum here?
I mean, I can touch on that. Basically, it was more of the same because I took classes first semester. Also going into semester system, honestly, I like it so much more than the quarter system.
Oh.
But yeah, it's much more relaxed. But basically, I had to go back through fluids, I had to go back through thermo, and I had to go back through, there's one more class I took that I honestly forget. There's math. I actually had to go back through math because there was a lot of like advanced math classes too. And so, yeah, just reviewing material, going back, and then kind of building upon that. And the main thing kind of for graduate school that I realized is it's much less of like, you know, here's the problem, we gave you the method, now apply that method to the problem. It's more like you get a problem and then you know how to solve it, but like it's not immediately clear. Like you have to know what assumptions to make. You have to like make your own assumptions and stuff like that. So you have to kind of think outside the box sometimes, which I feel like was new for me.
You guys have any more questions? I have a question. How did ChemiCar help you like getting a job or going to grad school? You can be honest. It doesn't have to be yes.
Yeah, it actually kind of did, because the stuff that we did, well, it's kind of funny for me because I went on working on a tiny car and now I'm working on bigger cars. Yeah, so it did help. It's just that like whenever I talked about how like, oh, I worked on the propulsion system with the fuel cell. And then also like I didn't work on it, but I did talk about like the aluminum air battery that we did. And also the luminol like stop clock, the reaction clock thing. And then every time I talked about it, whether it was like Rivian, Tesla, or like Ford, they were really like impressed, because it's basically like, oh, that's what we do, but in a smaller, you know, students budgeted scale.
Right.
So like a lot of the stuff that we did is like, obviously it's a lot more complex in when you're trying to make a product that you're selling to real people, a lot more quality control, but it's still the same thing where it's like, oh, this doesn't work. Maybe we just, I shouldn't say this, but maybe we just like add something more. Like it doesn't have to be that ultra complex engineering thing. So it's like what we do learn is kind of like what we do in the real world. It's just like a lot more complex.
I mean, there are certain things which I learned from Chemicar have been helping me a lot. At least was first off management skills, as in like once you are in the executive body, right? It is so handy because you know what it is to just fill out the forms or be in contact with different people and organize everything together so that you can handle the group together. That's what you learn in from that. That's what translates into industry as well. There's always teams, there's always people, and you have to always talk to different people and organize them together. So what I've learned, the best or the most important thing is for me is communication. Like you need to be communicated, like you need to communicate well enough to all the people, or else the task is not going to get done. And the same thing was learned in Chemicar as well. Like we always need to tell what we need to do, whether we were doing experiments or whether we were just talking through. So that was one thing I feel was helpful for me.
Makes sense. Those like the soft skills that translate. What was your interview process?
For me, so it was, I didn't do an interview because I'm working with my dad, but I applied to different places over here in America as well, and I got an HP. I don't know, this is a funny story, even Susie knows this. So we were in a career fair and we were just talking, and HP was actually one of the tabling things. I think, I don't know if you guys were there as well. So I was just talking to them, and then all of a sudden, like they told that they were opening a center in San Diego, and then they were saying that they needed someone in dyes industry, as in pigmentation for or ink for printers. And I said I had a background in it because I've been working in that field for a while. Like I had been interning in the dyes industry for a lot of summers. So I talked to them, and she was really interested, the hiring person, and she gave me her email. I reached out to her, and then she talked, and they were opening a massive center in San Diego, and they were really hiring. So she offered me a job. So that was one thing for me. I mean, Susie can, tell more about this. I think she applied to Tesla in different places.
Yeah, so it's a lot of rejections. But you know what? It's okay. In the end, you find one.
Great advice, Susie.
Yeah. So
It can be applied to everything.
I guess the biggest thing that I would try to advise everyone is to really study up on the material that like what you're going to apply for. So like if like you're going to battery engineering like me, you would really need to know like the actual like fundamental electrochemistry. Like they do ask you like it's almost like an oral exam. Like you have to prepare for it as if, okay, not exactly OPAT, but as if Powell was the one the one who was like testing you on the exam. So it's not like where OPAT tries to trick you, right? Whereas Powell is like more like, oh, she's just going to, oh crap, this is recorded, whatever. But Powell is more like clear with her, like, but she does really also like try to test you on your knowledge. So that's how you have to prepare for interviews with tech companies is just like, or any engineering company here is just that you really need to know your material, which is something that I feel like, I guess, like all the interview practice that I did with like Aichi didn't really help me because they focused more on the soft skills stuff like, oh, if you were faced with this situation, what would you do? Which they do ask you that, but they have a lot more emphasis on the fundamentals of your knowledge, which makes sense because in the end, they hired you for your brain, right? Not because you're a people person, but because you're an engineer. So that's just something that's like a big thing that I would want everyone to take away from this is just that like, you just really need to know your stuff. And then just like to prove to them that you know your stuff and then they'll love you.
So much work for love. Yeah. So wait, how is like life outside of like undergrad? Because I know everyone, okay, so people who I've talked to, undergrads, they're like, oh dude, I would never do that again. And then some people are like, I loved undergrad. So I don't know. What's your take on that?
I feel undergrad education was actually kind of nice because, from what I am doing right now, it's kind of monotonous because, you have to go, you have to wake up. I mean, there's a set routine as in, you have to do the same things and it ends at certain time and then you get back home and you don't have to worry about anything. But undergrad was, you were always up to something, like even if it was night at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock or maybe 4, you were working on something or you were partying or you were doing something, right? Which is not the case anymore. Like you are much more responsible now and it's not that it's not the letter grade that matters anymore. So if you don't show up the next day you really screwed. So I'd definitely say college is way better than real life.
Shit. What about you guys? What do you guys think?
I mean, undergrad was nice and all, but like, thinking back, you do the research, right? Like you do research as an undergrad, you're like essentially just free labor, which is good for getting experience. And it's honestly great because it's not that hard to get a pretty good research position with like no experience, and it gives you experience. So that's really nice about it. But also it's like you're spending hours in lab and you're not getting paid at all for it, which is kind of weird in retrospect. But yeah, grad school, I like it so much better.
Yeah, money is definitely the best part, especially since I get paid overtime. Haha, this time. Haha. Yeah. So, but I guess it's also harder if you're like, I'm assuming everyone here wants to not just be an entry-level engineer their whole life, right?
Yeah,
Or
no
like,
shit.
yeah, no shit, yeah. So like what you want to do in your job is to learn, right? But because they hire you to do your job and not to learn, it's kind of hard, I guess. At least for me, to find time to actually like read the literature that is the fundamentals of why we're using certain like systems or batteries in our car. So yeah, that's like, it's kind of hard to like find time between like all your responsibilities at work and time to actually learn to grow outside of like, you know, you don't want to grow when you're at home, because that's like, why am I reading for my job at home? But like, yeah, so it's just that it's nice to get paid overtime, but you're like so busy that it's also hard to grow, I guess, which is something that like I really liked about undergrad, because you're just there to grow, you're just there to learn. But here, you're not like always afforded that opportunity.
One thing I feel is like, if you go into manufacturing industry, one thing, like if you go into manufacturing industry of any, like for anything, basically, whether it be chemicals, it be dyes, it be petroleum, it be refineries, anything, the most important thing, and I feel if you know this, you're definitely going to get the job, is mass balance and energy balance. That's the most important thing in any industry, because in manufacturing sector, that's what matters in the end. So like the basic chemistry questions, if you know, like for example, if you have 90% sulfuric acid and 98% HCl, and if you want to neutralize it, how much caustic are you going to use, or how much MgO you're going to use? So basic stoichiometry and basic mass balances, I think if you get a hand of it, or like if you get used to solving it really quickly, it'll be much better in manufacturing sectors, because a lot of people who've not studied chemistry and chemical engineering don't know this at all, but it should be at the back of our heads, because this is really, for us it's kind of elementary, but you need to be a master at it, I feel, which I think gives us an edge over every other engineer in manufacturing industry especially.
Cool. Do you guys have any other questions? Everyone's so silent. Talk, people.
I have a couple questions.
Okay.
So, wait, Daniel, are you getting paid for your research or not yet?
Yeah, I'm getting paid. So it's kind of a weird way that it works, but essentially the first like semester, because we were like getting matched with an advisor, we technically like got a fellowship, like everyone in the cohort got a fellowship.
Oh.
But then after that, the lab pays you. So you get like a stipend and your tuition from the lab. So it's pretty nice. But also with getting paid comes PI expectations, and yeah, they can be a lot sometimes. Some PIs, including mine, are very, very enthusiastic and a little bit too optimistic sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, how would you guys advise others if when they're applying for grad school or getting recommendation letters, especially for students who've been in like class but don't really talk to the professors? How would you go about starting that conversation, and if there's any advice in terms of getting recommendation letters for grad school? Just a general question. It's not like I'm applying.
It's totally not like you're applying. Well, I mean, I'm Prashu, you're not applying, so Mahika, can you answer this?
I'm not alumni. I don't know.
Wow. Okay. I
best
guess
way-
it's only
I'll tell
Daniel
you.
who can answer this.
The best way is easy way.
Isn't Susie applying too?
I mean, the easiest way like used to be just to, find the professor in their office if you know them. It's kind of weird if you haven't met them before and you just barge into their office. But also just going to office hours, like getting that, maybe not one-on-one, but like less than a whole class on one, kind of contact with the professor. If you go there for like, quite a few times over the course of, you know, a month or two. Then the professor will start to get to know you. And then, you know, eventually, once they know you, you can ask them for a letter of rec, and they usually like write you a pretty good one at that point. But also, you know, getting involved in clubs like ChemiCar, who have a faculty advisor who's really nice and writes pretty good letters of recommendation, is definitely a good idea.
I think this
I guess, yeah. I guess also like even if you are quiet, because I had one professor when applying to the UCSD BSMS who wrote my one of my letter of recs, Ping Liu. So I didn't really know him as well as like say Powell or OPAT, which we have had numerous classes with them. But I guess like it's if you are quiet in their class, but if you did do well in their class, well enough, then they will appreciate that, oh, you put in the effort, you had the result. So even if you didn't talk a lot in their class, they will be more like lenient towards that. But like professors in general are just really like nice because they understand the struggle of like wanting to go to like grad school, having to like overcome that, you know, fear of like asking someone for help. So in general, like if you reach out, then they will just most of the time say yes, even though it can take a while because we are in COVID. So yeah.
I just had a question. Would you guys have any advice on deciding between industry and grad school, and also like going to industry for a couple years and then going into grad school? Because I have heard advice that once you start earning, if you go straight into industry, it's really hard to go back to school after that. But I've also heard some people say that the experience is really helpful before going into grad school.
For
Yeah.
me, I definitely want to go back to grad school. But I feel going into the industry really helped me understanding what I want to do, because at one point I was not sure if I wanted to go into chemical engineering as my master's, or, you know, if I just want to go into the same field for my master's or not. So it's a process of you figuring out what you really want. But I always feel, you know, industry for me has helped me in deciding what I really want to do in long term, for long term prospects. So I think it's totally up to you for what you want to do.
Yeah, I've heard of people who've gone to industry first and then back to grad school, although there's not many of those people. And I mean, they said that they did that because the path they were taking and what they wanted to do in industry required some sort of advanced degree. And they were just really passionate about the subject that they had worked on. And in terms of getting into grad school, it definitely helps because, you know, if you work somewhere, you get that other, you know, letter of rec, you have really good experience to put on your resume. So I want to say it makes applying to grad school even a little bit easier. But like, you're definitely going to make more in industry than in grad school if you go like for a PhD, which is usually funded. So, you know, that's a decision.
I guess I feel like it all depends on if you want to have money first. It all boils. So would you rather have a little bit of money first right now? Or would you rather have like a big chunk of it later? Because, you know, like getting out of grad school with a PhD right into industry, you will be getting a pretty high level job. Like even if you don't have that much experience because of your qualifications. So it's like, because I know people who do plan to go to grad school and they're just like in industry right now to save up money for grad school, or they aren't really sure they do want to go to grad school, but it's like a lot of people, especially in tech, are usually like, oh yeah, I want to go back to grad school usually, eventually. So it's, yeah.
What if, you know, you get the experience without going to grad school, and, you know, for 7 years or 8 years you learn through that period, and you automatically go to that, you know, while earning small money you get to that big money kind of place, which
Yeah,
I feel
yeah. Yeah, like one of my boss in Rivian right now, he's like an advocate of no going to grad school because he was able to do it without grad school. So he's like, you don't need to go back to grad school. But then, but then I'm like, is it because like I really don't need to go back, or is it because you're just lucky? Because he got into the EV industry when it was like starting to grow. So obviously.
True.
I want to make
Yeah,
a
I feel
comment
like
on
it
that. Adding on what Susie said, I was talking to a friend who works at Floor, and almost all of the employees don't have a master's.
Oh,
All right, Daniel, what do you want to say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's very industry specific. Like, you know, if you go to most things research related, where you're like, you know, trying to find the new cutting edge stuff, you're probably gonna want, you know, an advanced degree of some sort. But that really depends. I mean, you know, a lot of places, there's like, I feel like for a lot of places, grad school isn't set up to like help with some industries. While others, you know, there's kind of like a natural progression. It really depends on where you want to go.
Yeah, I feel like at the end of the day, it, like Daniel said, like it depends on what kind of a sector you want to go in. Like in industries, if you want to work as a industry, like as a worker and an industrialist, and you don't want to go into research, you don't need a master's degree. I feel like, because our undergrad has taught ourselves to, you know, has taught me at least to, you know, how to learn more. So even if I don't have advanced degree, I can read up literature, I can read up material and learn by myself, because that's what we've been doing for fluids. So we know how to learn. So I feel even without masters, if you want to get to know something and you don't want to get into research, you can do it while being in the industry itself.
Well, how did you guys figure out what you liked, or like at least like the general area of what you wanted to maybe do? Or was it just kind of
I wanted to be an industrialist, or I still want to be an industrialist big time. Like I want to become like a Ratan Tata, basically for me. Like, so
you want the building named after him in UCSD?
I know, Tata. So that's my projection path. That's why I want to go into industry.
Yeah, I have still no idea what I want to do. So I just stayed in school and found like some cool research. So that's basically what I'm doing. Yeah. More or less. I mean, not exactly. I do like doing research, as weird as that sounds. And I think it's fun. And I feel like the project that I'm doing right now is really cool, even though I don't know if I've used a lot of the stuff that I've actually learned in chemical engineering yet.
Mm.
I might in the future. But I do enjoy that. I do enjoy the type of research I'm doing, but I honestly like don't know where I'm gonna end up, like, you know, 5-10 years from now. So we'll see.
Susie, how'd you pick you wanted to go into like battery related stuff?
Honestly, I just joined like my research lab, and then I was like, oh shit, wait, so I can actually be part of the stuff that makes, you know, like be part of the new you know, whole green trend of the world. It's not just like a pipe dream, whereas I say I want to be green, but then I go and like make oil. But you know, there's nothing wrong with making oil because they make a lot of money. So but it's like, oh wow, I'm like actually doing something that's cool for the environment. And then it's also cool to see like, oh look, Rivian's gonna come out with their own you know, superchargers like Tesla. And oh look, I'm actually working on trying to, you know, make it so that I can fast charge my cells without exploding. So it's like cool to see like directly what you're working is going to be put out for real people to use.
That's pretty cool.
So how many jobs did you apply to?
No, this is just for me, right?
Yeah, this is just for you. I want to see like,
a lot. Like
the rate of rejection.
A lot, yeah, because I was applying to like everything, not just battery stuff. I got like almost every job that I applied that was a like battery related thing, because I have that strong research background. They were like, oh, hey, come in for an interview. And then I really only got like 2-3 job offers. And then, yeah, one didn't work out, whatever. But yeah,
That's
so
actually
like,
good.
I think I've applied to like 4 or 5 almost every night ever since like January, like the end of January. So that's a lot. You do the math.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good that the research position with Meng helped you out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like you don't really necessarily need. Shut up, Prashi. You don't necessarily need like a research position, but I think like any type of like experience really does boost you, because it's like, oh, anyone can get a chemical engineering. Well, not everyone can pass the class that we passed, but almost everyone can get a chemical engineering degree. It's like, what is it like? What type of chemical engineer are you? That then they look. Yeah.
Another question. So knowing what you know now, is there anything that you would want to change differently about yourself if you could repeat undergrad life again?
Oh, good question.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're an international student, get on your OPT stuff like early, like all your visa stuff like early. Yeah, just that word of warning there. Yeah. And just like if you're like, obviously this applies to grad school too, but like just get on everything really early.
Susie, how many times did we get on things early? Never?
No comment. No comment. Hey, Daniel, are you still getting on things early in grad school?
Oh no. I wrote my final fluids paper, which was, I want to say 20 pages in the end. I stayed up like all night doing that. Like, it was a 24-hour like run, like marathon run, but it was okay. So it turned out okay.
Yeah, so yeah, so that's a thing all of us are working on.
So
Prashu, are you
doesn't,
getting
like,
on
end.
things early in your dad's work?
Oh,
Oh.
Wait, really? So procrastination doesn't go away?
dude, procrastination doesn't go away, but I mean, we get things done when it's the deadline, but
I mean, yeah.
just I mean, we could ease into it. That's all I'm gonna say.
I really thought it would I thought like undergrad was like, okay, procrastination, shoo. Like I thought it was the end.
No. Dude,
It's gonna
calling
be
it
like boom.
it's like, no, it's never gonna go away. It's part of us now.
Hopefully it will. Hopefully it'll be like, oh, maybe once I hit my like later 20s, then they'll be gone.
Are you
Yeah,
all
I
applying
mean,
to
yeah.
grad school? Mahika, Pooja, Casey?
Mm-hmm. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm continuing here.
Nice.
The best thing to do right now, given everything, which annoys me, but
Yeah. I'm
I'm
going
not
to
applying.
bioengineering. Oh, what?
So,
Oh, go ahead, Mika. You go first.
Okay. I was gonna say, I'm applying to bioengineering now because I was like,
She is a traitor. Oh my god.
no, it's not. Ugh.
Okay, to be fair, the lab I work in is basically bioengineering at this point. It's technically chemical engineering, but it's like my professor, my PI, she's also like a professor in bioengineering. So
Mhm.
Technically
see
is
it.
good enough. She's officially going into bio.
What do you mean? I did undergrad with you.
You can also look at like chemi, like don't, completely always look at bioengineering, because a lot of chemi labs, if you're going that route, do
Mhm.
like very bio-related stuff. So
oh yeah, just look
you
at
don't
our
want to like,
Yeah. I was when I was researching, A lot of schools have like chemical and biomolecular engineering as that's what their school is called, like the major is called for chemical engineering, which is pretty cool. But
Are you looking into UCSD for bioengineering?
yeah,
Why not nano engineering?
because like nobody like knows what that is. Like,
But
I
you
mean,
do.
yeah, but like I can't like if I be like if I apply to jobs afterward, they're gonna be like, no.
See, I
Wait,
took
even at Catalent, they don't emphasize on nano.
No, because well, I mean, not really, because like it's the people who do R&D are mostly they're either process engineers or chemists.
Makes sense.
yeah, I feel like nano engineering is still a little bit like towards the research side.
Like the research is interesting, but like,
I don't know. I like chem better after taking a few classes, so it's like
Even with BioE, I've heard most undergrad programs are actually pretty dependent on the research that professors do at each school. So
Mhm.
interviewing just with a bachelor's in BioE can be a little bit different than us as chemies, because I think most chemi curriculums are pretty standardized, but BioEs can have some different curriculums as well.
mhm.
Yeah, I think I know like if it's biomedical engineering, or rather than like I think I don't remember what like Brian and Jessica and Daibo were doing, that they were basically doing a bunch of fluids and like hard
Yeah.
like
They were doing pretty similar stuff to what we learned, right?
yeah,
Like, very similar courses to us as well.
yeah.
that's
But
like bioinformatics or something.
Biotech.
like
Like-
biotech, yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
biotech.
That is
It's like
cool.
bioengineering with a specific line.
Yeah, but like I know someone who was like, it wasn't UCSD, but it was like Stanford. She was a biomedical engineer.
Mhm.
She said she didn't do any fluids, and like she has a job now, but she said it was also like quite a struggle because like basically it's one of those fields where like you need a PhD to get a job. So it's kind of like chemistry and like pure biology in that, or general biology in that sense. So yeah, it's kind of dependent on school and what your curriculum is.
Oh, it all comes down to fluids.
Dude, that is one of the most important topics, I feel. Fluids. Not the Navier-Stokes thing, but everything apart from that, like the Bernoulli's principle, the extended Bernoulli, the head losses, the pumps, the motor.
Blasius?
Dude,
Hmm.
all of that is just too theoretical, bro. Last year's and fucking. I'm sorry, this is not. Oh, it's still recording.
We could probably stop. I don't know.
Okay. I mean,
But
it's like it's not.
it's pretty important, is all I'm gonna say.
I have a question for Daniel. Did you guys, or not you guys, but like, did you have to do an interview to like when?
Yeah, so surprisingly, I didn't like get an interview anywhere. I just either straight up got rejected or straight up got in. So I don't know. Like
Oh, okay.
I've heard of people in bioengineering getting interviews though, like from the people that I knew who were applying there. But I also applied to one bioengineering program and they didn't do an interview at all. So I don't know.
Okay, I guess it depends on the school then.
Yeah. And on the
Ooh.
program too. So at UMich, there's someone else who got into bioengineering and they had an interview, they matched with their PI like before they even got in. And that was very different from like chemi, where you get into the program and then like your first semester is like a matching process. You know, you talk to all the PIs and then you kind of, pick one and then they like, rank the people too. So it's different.
Wait,
Cool.
Magika, did you get an interview?
No, dude, yesterday's Friday, right? Okay, I just finished my last app yesterday and I'm like so happy. I don't even want to think about it anymore.
Was it for Georgia Tech?
No, there was a bunch that were due like the 15th. I think like it was mostly Boston schools. I was playing like Boston University, UMass.
East Coast schools.
Weird. Did it get delayed because of like COVID? Because I remember all of mine were due like early to mid-December.
There are some schools that are due like early mid-December too, but like I don't know. I guess because like what I've seen, like most West Coast schools are due December-ish, and like all the East Coast schools were like due January. Even UMich was due January 15th.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
I don't know,
Huh.
maybe it did get extended.
Maybe they're accommodating like scores, because I know half the schools are like, oh, we're gonna waive your GREs, and the other half are like, JK, you still gotta take it.
Yeah.
But like now
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like
how do,
6 hours online.
How do the grad test admission scores and like the different tests work? Because I don't think I've heard a lot about them or like the experience of taking them.
Yeah, see
The
that
GRE, the GRE is just horrible. Like honestly, it's such a waste of time. But you have to study for it. You have to prepare for it. It's basically just the SAT, but honestly a little worse.
What do you mean, Daniel? It was like super easy for me and Mahika.
Uh-huh.
Totally not
Yeah, I don't
because
know what you're
COVID
talking
meant
about.
like
Yeah, so
no
easy.
GRE for us. It was so easy, man. Like, damn.
Bro, I remember studying with that too.
I remember you guys studying too. You guys were all in that
Oh,
study
right.
room
You did. I forgot about that.
that like one weekend.
Yeah. Apparently you can take it at home now. Like you don't have to go to a testing center anymore.
Yeah, it's 6
Yeah.
hours on your laptop because I looked into it, and you have to be in a room that you have to show them the entire room. The door has to be closed the whole time, and then you just sit there and you take it, and they proctor it.
Yeah.
Boy.
It's kind of intense. You have to have 3 cameras at least.
Oh my
And it has to
God.
be like different angles. It's kind of wild. So I was like, no, I'm not doing that.
Part of
Right.
the reason I just decided to go here. Continue.
I really want to know if not taking the GRE is gonna hurt your chances of getting in, though. No.
I feel
mean,
like it's
okay,
not because like even Berkeley already is like, oh, we don't take the GRE because we're liberal and that's like
Yeah.
classist and racist and sexist. So I feel like most schools are already kind of like, because it's like
Yeah.
the GRE is like basic math and like then really, really intense grammar English.
yeah.
Which like if you're an engineer, like as long as you can read and
Yeah.
write like to a normal degree that other people can understand you.
Yeah, they're starting to phase out the GRE. I don't
Mhm.
know if they're gonna like replace it with specific subject tests or whatever, but a lot of schools I like read about, they're like, yeah, they're starting to phase it out.
I'm
Yeah,
taking
I
the
mean I hope they do.
by the way.
I hope
The-
so too. For
I don't know if you guys know about this. Like, if you need to be a registered chemical engineer, you need to take this test. So
Yeah.
I'm taking it soon.
Is that the PE, the FE?
yeah, the fundamentals of engineering.
Mm.
Yeah, isn't one like you take it within a certain amount of graduating, and then the second one you take it like after 10 years of experience?
Mm-hmm.
How is that?
Well,
that-
let us know how that goes.
But it's easier because the FE is just like pass fail.
Yeah.
There are no grades, so it's
Oh.
nice. Yeah, it's like
I did not know that. Cool.
Well, good luck with that.
I mean, I'm not, going in with like a lot of preparation and stuff. I'm just like, let's see what happens.
Oh,
If
wait,
I'm
you're
be-
not studying for it?
I mean, I'll study for it for a bit, like, but I'm not, going to be hardcore studying for it. And then, because I feel like I've talked to a few people and they're like, yeah, if you, gone through the entire journey and if you're honest about it, so you can just get through it without, actually having to struggle a lot, because it's pass fail and it's not really. And I'm working in that field as well. So
Yeah.
As long as you like review your stuff.
yeah.
As long as you walk into the industry, you're like, oh yeah, that's a batch.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. Damn, people left. Okay. Do you guys have any more questions?
Are you guys all in San Diego?
I will be in like 5 days. I'm in LA right now, but I will be soon.
Oh shit, you should come visit me in Irvine.
I'm in OC.
Dude, my dad works in Irvine. He drives from like LA to Irvine.
Wait, where?
I don't. Do you know where like that wheel is?
Oh yeah, I live like right next to it.
Wait, really?
Yeah, Spectrum,
Yeah.
like Irvine Spectrum, right?
Yeah, Spectrum. Yeah.
The wheel.
Yeah,
That-
dude, that's like I live like 10 minutes because my workplace is in Laguna Canyon, right?
Wait, I'm gonna stop recording this. Hold on. We don't need to know.
And then we're going, like,